In today's Fashion Forward, we are talking about sustainable clothing, everything from fabrics that are being used and high-end brands that are rocking eco-friendly outfits on the runway. Our style expert and author, Heather Neuberger, joining me right now. Hey, Heather.
Hey, Natalie, how's it going?
It is going well. We're talking about being eco-conscious, which is something that is very popular and a way of life for really a lot of us right now. And that includes our clothes. So how are brands getting creative when it comes to fabric choices?
Well, it's interesting. We've talked a few times about different fabrics that are being utilized, whether on the runway or by different clothing companies such as Uniqlo or H&M, et cetera, easier to purchase most fast fashion. But now we're seeing more interesting sort of avant-garde, dare I say, fabrics being chosen. We're looking right now at different things like mushroom leather, which involves a fungi that has sort of the feel and appearance of leather, and it kind of embodies the mycelium products of agriculture, lumber, waste, and cotton. And it can be grown in really a matter of weeks, just seen here in this garment created by Stella McCartney, who's using it as well as Hermes, LuLuLemon, and Adidas. We're also talking about fermented silks now, which is being used in that image, as you see, by North Face and also H&M. Companies are sort of designing these gene codes that currently they're using as a specific protein and kind of putting it into some natural spider silk. And then they're introducing sort of other genes of microorganisms, feeding them sugar, growing them just sort of kind of like beer. And ultimately, these fabrics will be fully biodegradable once they're kind of integrated into our process of creating clothing.
Wow, that is so interesting. And you mentioned a lot of companies doing different things. How much of a priority is sustainability becoming to these brands?
Well, I think a lot of it really hinges on the fact that we're kind of pushing for sustainability. When you talk about Gen Z, you talk about millennials, you even look at, Gen X and the boomers. We're all looking for something that's going to save our planet. It's going to make us feel active and really sort of locked into our own personal journey when it comes to sustainability. And fashion is a really key place to do that. The only problem is that the things where places get a little tripped up is that greenwashing space where, is the company doing it for themselves? Are they doing it because of public pressure? At the end of the day, you kind of just have to throw up your hands and say, at least they're doing something, because, we're not really in charge of what happens up top. But as long as sort of we can put that political pressure on, I say go with God.
Yeah, and one brand that's really taking the lead, doing more than just faking it. This is Ganni. They're launching a whole sustainable collection, and they aren't stopping at just that. This is the real deal, as we just mentioned.
Absolutely. And I have to admit that Ganni is one of my favorites. I feel like I'm often sort of throwing in my kind of favorite collections and designers in here, but Ganni does such a great job. Their new spring-summer 22 collection has great stats on it. It's got 92% of the volume created comes from responsible styles, which is a 14% increase from their last season. We're talking about classifying these styles of at least 50% of the composition is certified as recycled, lower impact or organic materials. But their goal by 2023 is to be fully 100% responsible. And what I love about Ganni's approach specifically is they're not coming at consumers saying, hey, we're a sustainable brand, get with our program. They're saying we're just a brand, but we also care about sustainability and responsibility. And we're going to make that open and honest and as transparent as we can to our clients so that our clients know that they can trust us in the materials that they're wearing and that we're putting on their bodies.
And you had touched on greenwashing. What makes an item sustainable? How much of our everyday wear can actually fall within those categories? And when we are shopping, what should we be looking for in branding and labels?
What I think is really interesting is when we're looking at labels, we can obviously look at different fabric compositions. There's certain things that are sort of better versus worse for the environment. If we're talking about an organic cotton or a tencel, or we're looking at, just different materials that are sort of lower impact and can be more easily biodegradable. But at the same time, when we're talking about being sustainable, shopping secondhand or vintage is just the same. Buying something new that has great biodegradable fabrics is exactly the same as buying a vintage piece or upscaling a garment that you might not have worn before, because it really is just about not putting more things into that, quote unquote, if not realized, landfill. So kind of what I like to say is, you want to think about your ecological footprint, and you want to think about how big or how small is it and how comfortable are you in that space. Or if we want to get really dark, we can say like, okay, so if you're dying tomorrow, how much of your stuff is going to get thrown out, how much can get sold, and how much space are you really taking up? And at the end of the day, most of that stuff can be sold, given away, or given to other homes or other people who can utilize them better in their own lives. I think we can all rest just a little bit easier.
Yeah, absolutely true. As dark as that is, it is fact, Heather. We can't get away from that. You guys make sure you are following Heather on Instagram as well. That's at Heather Neuberger. And go pick up her book, How to Date Your Wardrobe.